All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. And to begin our conversation, which is on flooding, mitigating the impacts, let's see this background report put together by our correspondent, Joseph Otsen.
As predicted by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, the rainfall is intensifying. The soil is struggling to hold excessive water, and the river water table is rising. Houses, business premises, farmlands are all submerging in many parts of the country. As early as April, the federal government reported no fewer than 21 local government areas in 10 states and the Federal Capital Territory have been submerged by flood as a result of torrential rainfall. So far, Lagos State seems the most hit, with other states like Adamawa, Anambra, Edo, Benue, Kwara, Ogun, Osun, Nasarawa, Taraba and Yobe, among others, bearing the brunt. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Joseph Utsev, had stated that most of the flood incidents recorded so far were flash urban floods resulting from high rainfall intensities of long duration. Presenting the 2024 annual flood outlook for the country earlier in April this year, the minister said the federal government has written at least 31 governors informing them of impending flooding in their states between April and November this year. The outlook shows 148 local government areas in 31 states fall within the high flood risks, are within the moderate flood risk areas, with the remaining 377 local government areas falling within the low flood risk areas. The Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency has called on the public to ensure clean environment, waterways like drainages and flood paths, and maintain proper refuse disposal and waste management practices to reduce incidents of flooding. Some state governments have demolished buildings on river channels, relocated residents, and cleared drainages to prevent flooding and its impacts. With the level at which flooding is already ravaging communities in many parts of the country and still threatening the worst to come, what else can the federal and state governments, as well as citizens, do to mitigate further flooding and its devastation? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will share perspectives in a short while.
Right, many thanks, Joseph Otseng, for the background report. And we have, again, as always, we've assembled experts in this area. And again, we will be, speaking to the issue of flooding and how to mitigate impacts. Engineer Clement Nze is a regular, of course, he's a familiar face. Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA. He joins us again live here in the studio. It's always a pleasure. Each time we call upon you, you're always obliging us. Thank you very much, sir. We are glad you could join us.
Nice to be here again.
Yeah. Also here with us in the studio is Professor Emmanuel Adanu, again, another regular with us on Good Morning Nigeria, Director General, National Institute for Water Resources in Kaduna. He was also Chairman, Technical Committee, Presidential Committee on Prevention of Flood Disaster. We're glad, sir, you could join us again for this conversation.
Thank you very much.
And just before Ian comes in, let me quickly introduce a gentleman who's joining us probably for the first time, Idris Abubakar Ahmed, Special Assistant to the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm Idris Abubakar Mohammed.
Idris Abubakar Mohammed. All right, thank you very much.
All right, also joining us for the conversation all the way from Dutse, Jigawa State, we have Hamza Muhammad Hadija, Advisor to Jigawa State Governor on Flood and Climate Inclusion. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Idris Abubakar Mohammed. All right, thank you very much.
All right, also joining us for the conversation all the way from Dutse, Jigawa State. All right, I just hope that the connection is really clean with Hamza Muhammad Adeja, of course. In the course of the conversation, he will join us right there. All right.
You have one more
So Claire.
Yes.
All right, we also have via Zoom. Oh, wow, it's a full loaded package, of course, with a lot of guests. We have joining us via Zoom from Lagos State, Adeshino Temiu, Managing Director, Rivulets Consulting Limited, former Managing Director, LASEMA, and Lagos State Safety Commission, LSSC, spanning from 2016 to 2019. Many thanks for joining us, Adeshino. Very important that we have you from Lagos joining us for the conversation.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, I'd like to start with NEMA because we are in the third quarter of the year, and NISA and NIMET, have been giving us seasonal rainfall prediction, and of course, mentioning states, will the states that will be impacted, either high density impact or low density impact. And I just would like for you to share with us, what has been so far the burden of flood disaster that NEMA has had to handle.
Thank you very much. For us at NEMA, we always say that it's a double-edged sword. We have too much rains, there's going to be floods. We have less rainfall, there may be drought in some places, which are, if not well managed, can transform to food insecurity. So we are very happy this time around that the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, the NISA, they released their annual hydrometeorology predictions on a very good time, beginning of the year. And NEMA look at these documents. We assemble experts from across all the sectors to digest these documents and look at the disaster management implication of the predictions. And then a series of events took place afterwards. The NEMA GIS did the flood risk mapping for the country, identifying all local governments, states, local governments, communities that are at risk of flooding. And we communicated this information to all the state governments and the FCT, of course. And we convened an emergency coordination forum where all disaster response partners are placed under one roof, and we reviewed these predictions, and we put everybody on alert.
Yeah, but so far, what has been the response? Have you had to manage disasters? Which are the states, that you've had to send response team? What is the magnitude of impact so far?
We deployed our all NEMA senior staff were deployed to all the states of the federation to downscale flood disaster early warning and mitigation strategies to communities at risk. Just yesterday, we activated an emergency operations center at the NEMA headquarters, and it's working 24 hours, receiving reports from our zonal offices, our operations office and territorial offices across the country. They work with the SEMAs. Our zonal officers in the state, they work with the SEMAs. If there is any sudden onset emergency, like an issue of flood disaster, they communicate to NEMA.
But what is the reports that you are getting? That's what I want to know.
The reports we are receiving, now the rain has set in across Nigeria. Even in some of these Sahel states, we're having incidences of flood disaster reported. So depending on the magnitude of the situation, local governments, states, and the federal government is expected to intervene. We have done some level of emergency stockpiling. We have downscaled our early warnings. And like I said, we have activated our emergency operation system. So I think we're in a position to at a glance, have an idea of what is happening across the country, and then communicate to line emergency responders. The military DRUs, disaster response units across the country, have been activated in case of any disaster, and there's a need for search and rescue from the military. They are there to support all these.
So far, no disaster in any part of the country. In those states mentioned, no disaster, no emergency issues, relating to flood.
We cannot say that. We just.
That's what I'm asking you. I wanted you to give us a picture, paint a picture of what is happening across those states that NISA, forecasted.
Incidences happened in Lagos recently. Our territorial office sent us a report. As I'm talking to you, the NEMA Director of Search and Rescue is in Benue State, working to support the state government with some of our staff in our territorial office in Jos. Some of them have been mobilized to Benue State to support search and rescue operations.
Okay.
The zonal office in Lagos, territorial office in Lagos, and the zonal office in Ibadan are supporting Lagos State, Oyo State government to conduct search and rescue operations and conduct credible damage and loss assessment and send to the NEMA headquarters.
All right, Idris Mohammed, I will pause you there, of course, so we'll get more figures about what's happening at the moment and then what your plan is for the future disaster that's likely going to happen, looking at what's happening at the moment in states and the prediction by NISA. But let's quickly get to Lagos now, because you mentioned Lagos, and of course we have seen the pictures. We've heard, people talk about the situation in Lagos. So I'd like additional, Tamiu, you're a Lagos resident. You've been there for a long time. So tell us, what is the situation as regards flooding, this year in that state? And just let us know, what are the factors responsible for the magnitude of disaster that is being experienced in Lagos as regards flooding?
All right, thank you very much. Lagos State, when we talk of flooding, and I'm sure the people in the studio know this, is usually the human and the natural causes of this. Now, rain will fall generally, but then the human angle to this is, how do we prepare for rainfall, especially when we have predictions from NEMA telling us the volume of rain that we expect. The challenge in Lagos is actually that of managing flood pathways into the lagoon. What we experienced last week, Wednesday, for example, has never happened in a long time. Areas that have never been flooded were flooded. I was a victim myself in a community called Ogudorioki. Leaving Lagos mainland onto the island via the third mainland bridge, in a place they call Olokomewa, it was heavily flooded. But I must say this, the truth is that what we experience in Lagos in most cases are flash flooding. In other words, these are floods that will recede with time. I drove through that same place that was heavily flooded in the morning, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was no water again. But government as an entity must make sure that when predictions are given, or even before predictions are given, there are major canals that need to be freed of silt and debts. And this is where you and I come in, the government and the people. We all have a role to play. Many canals in Lagos are blocked. The state government is trying its best. I must acknowledge that. The Commissioner for Environment, Tokubo, is almost on TV on a daily basis. It is only the demolition part of this man's work that people see. They don't see what goes on in the silting this. They are trying their best, but Lagos demands more. We demand more because we all know the terrain. 15 of 20 original Lagos local government are, surrounded by water. So we know this will always happen. Our preparedness must be centered towards clearing the canal to allow the water go straight into the lagoon. And if we do that, yes? Okay. Now, the truth is that in Lagos, we will always experience this flash flooding. What we advise Lagosians to do is when it rains heavily like this, stay back at home and listen to information from traffic radio and other state agencies. But because we lose money, we lose properties, and sometimes it occasions death. It is important for all of us now to address this issue. NEMA, as the parent body for managing emergency in Nigeria, has a big role to play. They must develop a master plan. And it is not what they know alone. It is what it is passed to other, state emergency management agencies. I managed emergency in Lagos for 3 years, and I know we have relationship. But can we say that of other states? Lagos has, a level of capacity that is not matched by other states in Nigeria. But yet, we have this magnitude of problem. I want to see a master plan, a flood abatement master plan that is understood by everybody, not the one that NEMA design and the SEMAs, the State Emergency Management Agencies, are not involved. Everybody has its own peculiarity. While other people, why is it that when they release water from dams, every state of the federation, feels it? What are we doing about damming some of this water ourselves to prevent flooding from happening in other states? About 25 states out of Nigeria's 36 states experience flood every year, depending on the magnitude. So for me, I think government has a big role to play, one, in ensuring that a master plan is designed to which everybody subscribe to. And we can all be on the same page about when rain begins to fall, what are those things we should do? Even before rain falls, what are those plans? And then what are the mitigating plans if this thing happens? Lagos have two, relief centers where they can take people to. Lagos issued flood alert warnings too, that those who live in flood-prone areas should move to the upland. And they should go ahead and follow this up by opening up the camps. The camps are ready all the time. Move people to camp. But again, the challenge is, are people ready to move? I know as a matter of fact, in Ajegunle, in Lagos, every year it rains, that place is flooded on Ikorodu Road. But you still see people paddle canoe into their homes. They hardly want to leave. We know a particular tribe in Nigeria who live by the waterfront. It's difficult to move them. But at least those who want to move, Lagos has a relief camp. I will expect that they will activate that part of mitigation process to do, to take these people in and take care of them. And apart from the normal, dissemination of information to people to always be on top of situations like this.
Just a follow-up, and just for my own information, because you did say that you were also a victim of what happened a few days ago in terms of flooding. I'm just wondering, what can you attribute? What are the reasons for this latest incident? I mean, given that Lagos has a wonderful, excellent, mitigation, framework. So what, in your opinion, having experienced this same prop challenge, what in your, in your own opinion, are the root causes of the recent flooding?
I want to believe, sincerely speaking, that the canals are blocked. The drainage, Lagos is trying to clear up systems 1, 2, and 3, but they need to do it fast. The amount of rainfall that we are witnessing, the drainage that we have is too small to take the volume, to take it away into the lagoon. And that is why we say we have flash flooding. In other words, it will still recede with time. But because the pathway to take this water is smaller to the volume of water that is coming, that is the major problem. Also, the attitude of our people to environmental, issues. How do we dispose waste? Our waste management system, must be looked into. There are people who still push carts in Lagos and empty it into the canal and all of this. So everybody has to be involved. When the state government does its own, we as individuals also have a role to play. There are new areas that are developing. What is the Lagos total plan? What is the developmental plan for managing, waste, for managing canals and, pathway to take water away? For me, I was just driving out to pick up something in Anthony, which is about 15 minutes drive, and I cannot go again because of the volume of water. And I drove through the back street to come back home. Unfortunately, I ran into it, and right in my car, I have the video, right in my car, my legs were inside the water as I pressed my pedals. It has never occurred to me. And in fact, some of the mechanism in the car is not working up to date. I still have to look for someone to fix it. So I think we need to clear all the drainages. The effort, the environmental flood abatement gang in Lagos has to be put to work. Even as we have, clement weather today, they must be working. I want to see swarm boogies go into the drainages and begin to clear these things. Some of these things have natural pathway. Why are we blocking it? Activities of sand dredgers, activities of developers who sand fill, who reclaim. We have wetlands in Lagos. But how many of those wetlands are free today? It's been developed into an estate. But when Lagos State government take action, the people, all of us, we still criticize them. But I think with what we experienced on Wednesday, we need to give government support to clear whatever are the impediments.
All right, Mr. Tamiu. Mr. Tamiu, I just want to get one clarification from you. You have attributed the flooding, you've called it flash floods, and you have said it's because of the canals that are blocked and then waste management issues. But there's also the prediction that Lagos is likely going to be submerged by 2050 because it is grappling with eroding coastline. Do you see that prediction coming, as something, as a signal to what is happening at the moment, and probably it coming to fruition anytime soon?
It's a warning sign. It's a warning sign, and we must take it seriously. There's nothing that happens that science has not explained. Why is it that NEMA predicted that it would be heavy rain? And indeed, we had heavy rain. So if there is a research which has said that Lagos will be submerged by 2030. I hope it's not going to happen. But we must begin to work from now. We must begin to work from now. It is not about demolishing houses that is on the pathway alone. It is about calling all of these developers and I key them into what we call Lagos master plan. Let everybody see this master plan. Let all of us know what roles we need to play in all of this. Because the truth of the matter is that Lagos is below sea level, and we all agree it is. But you still have sand dredgers dredging, sometimes illegally. Is it that the government lack capacity to control this? We must give government this support to aggressively begin to plan towards those years and ensure this does not happen. Otherwise, all of us are not safe. And Lagos being the commercial capital of Nigeria, we need to save Lagos. And this is where we need to give support to government. I want to acknowledge the effort of the state government, especially the Commissioner for Environment, but it needs to do more. We need to vote more money into ensuring that our drainages are cleared, more canals are opened up to allow for free flow of this water into the Lagos Lagoon. I mean, when you see the rise in water level, sometimes you are afraid to even drive on the Third Mainland Bridge. It is evident. So the prediction, if driven by science, must be taken seriously, and we all have a work to do. That's my view about it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tamiu. You are calling for efforts to save Lagos. Of course, we're trying to save the whole country because 25 states, and I'm sure more, from predictions by NISA, may be affected by flooding this year, and nobody's sure what it will look like in the coming years. So I'd like to get to Engineer Clement Nze, now Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. Predictions by NISA, by NIMET, of course, we'll always talk about the floods and all of that. But yet, we see that actions are not taken to prevent it or even minimize the damage. The rains come in, the flood comes in, the same stories, and then we're all running to NEMA. if you like, to cushion the effects
Yes.
of the floods. But speak to us really. What is the problem as regards flooding in this country?
Thank you so much. In fact, that has been the painful aspect of it, that year in, year out, relevant agencies of government, especially at the federal level, come out very early in the year to give warning signs, scientifically based predictions about the rainfall amount and the onset and cessation dates. And then that's from NIMET. And then the NISA always goes ahead to give you the breakdown, that rainfall predicted, and other factors in terms of maybe transboundary rivers, that pass through Nigeria. What does it portend in terms of flooding? So we come up with such documents and scientifically based documents. Like this year, mentioned the number of states that might be affected adversely by flood. The LGS in those states, as well as maybe those may be moderate. These are made available always to the state governor. There are 3 tiers of government. Subnationals are acquainted with this. Like you are asking, it's very painful that Abuja cannot move from here to, let me say, Kano, to go and enforce. Having told you this is what is likely going to happen in your states, it is expected that the state governments with the local governments should work in tandem to ensure that the community, because the flood issues occur often in the communities, that people are abreast with this information, and the necessary actions are taken as early as possible. You can hardly do anything by this period. If actions are taken early enough, it will reduce the impact. We talk about flood issues when there's a disaster accompanying it. If the flood will always come, quite all right, but when disasters happen, that's when people talk about it. So we expect actions from the subnationals. What these predictions are made available, but it's like people wait for it, and then maybe whether it will happen or it will not happen, they keep quiet, and then later when disaster occurs, we keep asking for relief. So we are really pained that we don't receive commensurate response in terms of preparedness once these advisories are issued early enough in the year.
I would ask you, so far, again, like I asked him, this is the 3rd quarter, Q3. So far, what's your assessment of impact of the prediction, on states? Has it shown any form of adaptation, any form of, leveraging of your predictions?
Okay, somebody will be speaking from
Jigawa. Yes.
Yes. These are some of the states that you can see action taking place once they receive these advisories. I keep calling it advisories. We don't compare. We issue you these advisories, tell you this is what is going to happen most likely. And it's better to err on the side of caution. To run with the pressure that was given to you, prepare for it. Even if it doesn't happen, you have nothing to lose than to
Precisely.
say it may not happen. Then you are taken on unawares. Many of the states are not prepared for anything. And what is worrisome?
Do you think that is deliberate on the part of the states?
I don't know. I can't explain. It is worrisome. The most critical months of the year, we don't try to enter into it. That's for flooding.
Can we be specific of the states mentioned, both low impact and high intensity impact? You've mentioned Jigawa. Jigawa
is working. I'm talking about those states
working.
that are,
Yes. How many of those states? Jigawa is just one out of the many states that
I'm aware of what is happening in Lagos.
Okay.
But we were together,
Lagos.
I think 24th and 25th and 26th of last month in Lagos. So where I can say action is being taken in Lagos in terms of clearing the canals. Something is happening there. The FCT is working in terms of getting prepared. Once they get this information, they run with it. they call stakeholders, like even my colleague NEMA is saying here. But in most other states, I know what is happening in Bayelsa as well too, in terms of getting prepared, calling you to ask questions. Please, what did you push? Say this and that. Can you give us more information, update? But majority of the states, if I may say, more than 80% seem not to. More than 80% seem not to be doing anything at all. But a few states are taking action.
All right, many thanks, Engineer Clement Uze. Let's get to Jigawa now. Let's know what they're doing and find out the impact of the flood so far this year. Hamza Mohammed Hadija, advisor to Jigawa State Governor. I'm sure you can hear us, and you've been listening to the conversation so far. Just give us the state of things in Jigawa State at the moment.
Very much. As you are aware that Jigawa State, it is among the states that have been enlisted with the expectation of flood, as we receive the information for the prediction from the national water resource agencies such as NEMA, NIMET, and NISA. So Jigawa State, it is working with full collaboration and synergy with these water agencies for us to ensure how we can minimize and mitigate the effect of flooding in the state. So His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Jigawa State, Malum Umar A. Namadi, he is fully committed and concerned on how to minimize the effect of the flooding in the state. That is why he constituted the committee, as you are aware, to see how best we can look up to the critical areas, to see our challenges, and to see how we can minimize it to reduce the effect across the state. So we have started looking our river system from the entry point between Kano and the Jigawa to observe our challenges and see how best we can address such challenges. From the river side, we have two different flooding that we are experiencing every year. One is the heavy rainfall. Second is the river flooding, which are attributed from the main dams situated in Kano State. So the government provided heavy-duty equipment for us to embark on working to see how best we can open up all the waterways to allow the free flow of the water.
All right, so it looks like we lost connection with Hamza Mohammed Hadija there, but we hope that will be rectified so we can get back to him. So let's get back here in the studio. We have Professor Emmanuel Adenu, Director General, National Institute for Water Resources, Kaduna. Professor Adenu, you've listened to all our guests so far speak about the flooding, and this is not new to you. Like Engineer Clement Unze said, it's something we talk about every year. For some people, they're even tired of talking about it because it's something that is expected, but yet little action coming from states. I want you to speak about the steps taken by states so far. What has been the history, and then where are we at the moment?
Well, thank you very much. I've listened to everybody. In 2023, there was a presidential committee set up for a master plan to tackle this flooding, the effect of flooding, mitigating the effect of flooding, a comprehensive master plan which we produced. And it covered everything that has been discussed today. Everything you talk about has been covered in that master plan. We have submitted it. I think the federal government still needs to make sure this master plan or the roadmap is distributed to the states. And we should have conferences and let the states know the content of this. It has taken care of town planning, it's taking care of drainages it's talking about, it's taking care of even road construction, industrialization, like the building, like Abuja today. Abuja is experiencing nice roads. They are paving all this, and it's increasing the water flow, surface water flow. If you don't have proper drainage, as a Lagos person is saying, it can't convey that water sufficiently to an environment that will not be devastating. The water will still flow, but if you must have appropriate drainage to convey that. Just giving an example. Now, if it is in the bush and your rivers are overflowing, how do you manage this water? We're talking of towns now, like Lagos. What if it's not a town at all? What of a flood that comes to take the whole town plus your drainage? That is comprehensively accommodated in our report. I think we need to, because every year, we've been coming here, like the introduction that we had to the NZNI, they say we have regular visitors here. What do we discuss over the years? It's the same thing. Last year we had a comprehensive master plan. I think we should look at it.
Do you think it's inaction on the part of state governors now, or the people that is making the problem not go away?
Well, I don't know. They were saying he didn't know. I don't know too. But let me tell you one thing. There are occasions, any time there's flooding anywhere in the country, our institute will go there. We don't tell anybody because we're responsible to the nation. It's the National Water Resource Institute for researches and everything. We just go there, take measurements, take photographs, measure a lot of things, and then have a report, and we'll give to states. We've gone to several states. None of them has reacted. None has reacted. And we'll have the report.
Let's take Hadejia for, I mean...
now I'm coming to that.
Yes, because...
The most proactive state in the country is Jigawa. Hamza, that I was talking now, was there in our committee, and he was coming from Jigawa to attend meetings here in Abuja when we were carrying out this. What is the reason? We have two deltaic environments in Nigeria. One is the Bayelsa, and then this is Jigawa. Jigawa is where rivers try to come together before they move to Chad, to Lake Chad. And they come there, they get trapped. Ancient dunes, and so the water starts finding its way and then covering the whole place. Now with increased rainfall, especially intensity and short duration, increased, those environments cannot contain this, so water will start spreading. And Jigawa has been working hard on this, very proactive. Then Bayelsa is the second one. When the water collects and is going down there, that gets blocked and all that, Bayelsa will keep having it as much as Jigawa will have. And Jigawa has been very, very proactive about this. Other states, we have states that are right on the path of our major rivers. They get flooded every year. You sound warnings and they are not. I belong to a state, I'm in Nigerian, and I come from a state that has the same kind of, we sound warning, nobody listens to it.
But Professor Dado, I know, I just want to know how the institute is also helping some of these states, because I know Jigawa mentioned that in 2022, one of the main reasons why they had, that devastation was because the excess water, that hit the dam was not utilized. I'm just wondering, how are you helping other states, with probably similar, problem to utilize the excess water that may result, No,
we have water allocation program in the institute. When you have a dam, if it's a multi-purpose dam, we have the water allocation and we have the program for it. And we go around telling people, this dam, we did it for Gurara here. Okay. Gurara that supplies water to Abuja. We did it too. And did it for many other dams. We will tell you that if your dam is constructed for multi-purpose use, what are the purposes? Is it for irrigation, water supply, and hydropower? Then we allocate. Now, the original design, they contemplate a certain volume of water for any aspect of your usage. Now, if the dam gets silted, you have reduced that total number, that volume, for each one of them.
So you have to decide.
So you now have to, yes, you have to adjust. So we do that. And finally, we also go to find out the volume of sediments you have in your dam using a bathymetric and we do it for many. So we'll tell you that this dam now doesn't have the capacity, the original capacity. The active capacity has been reduced. So we have a lot of dead capacity. And that one is what is causing this. So in trying to manage the water in that environment, try to work on the siltation in this. We have that, and we give them all the documents. We don't implement.
Yes.
All we do is to find the cause for you, do research, and give you reasons why this is happening. We don't implement. Now, in our master plan, the comprehensive master plan, and it was part of us too. Roads, if you remember, Lokoja was blocked that time. And Minister of Works, they were proactive too. They said, okay, let's try and look at our code, the construction. How high should our roads be now? How wide should our culverts be? How wide should our bridges be? to accommodate this kind. It may not solve all the problems because flooding of 2022 might be exceeded anytime. You can never say. So, but at least if you respond to that flood that never happened in the past 100 years, at least you are still responding to some extent. So, this is what we should do in towns. This is what we should, even agriculture. When you irrigate, you drain. But we don't look at that. Now, channeling some of the water to areas that normally should not be flooded, just to get the floodplain a bit accommodating. Now, it's also part of our program. The excess water that comes, we can channel it somewhere, at least to use it for other purposes.
So, Professor Dan, thank you. Again, the documents that you give to these states, impacted states, I mean, when they get this document, they also need resources to translate, the recommendations in the documents. And some of them will tell you, there's paucity of funds. They cannot implement some of the solutions, and some of those solutions would include erecting environmental infrastructure, which is mostly necessary. You saw, I mean, for a Lagos state to be able to do that, Lagos would have injected a lot of funds, and there is ecological fund.
Let me.
Yes, there's an ecological fund for states.
Well, even in the document, source of fund is also specified there. Sources of funds will be there. But let me tell you, when you say, if you, for instance, you're cooking in your kitchen, in the sink, and you have a piece of vegetable or leaf blocking it cover, you may not notice.
Yeah.
And they take water. Now you go. Then they bring water, it didn't turn off your tap. And they bring water, and it starts coming, it doesn't flow because it's blocked. Then you come from work, and you see your whole...
Flooded.
Yes. Are you going to call NEMA?
But that's the thing. But that's the first thing they do. They go to NEMA.
Are you going to call NEMA
Good
because
question.
of your indiscipline, right in your house,
But
in your
that's what
kitchen?
happens.
Are you going to call NEMA? You see, there are certain... I'm just giving this example.
Yes.
But there are certain things that we need to do. If you produce a document with the mitigating responses there, it's not supposed to relieve you of your commitment, of your responsibility to pay attention to your environment. It's not. It's not relieving you of that responsibility. It's just giving you an insight to what will happen if certain things are not done.
All right.
So when you go around the whole country trying to investigate, get this and give people, it doesn't mean, okay, they've done this for me now, let me just wait for NEMA.
All right, many thanks, Professor Emmanuel Adonis. Maybe I should get to the Special Assistant to the DG of NEMA now, Idris Abubakar Mohammed. From what Professor is saying, maybe NEMA is part of the problem because you respond after there is a disaster. And states are looking forward to that response, either to cash out in whichever way, I do not know. So maybe you can explain to us really. Now that we've been having incidences of flooding, I mean, it's been recurring for a number of years. Why is NEMA not looking at other ways to arrest this challenge, like before the flooding? Instead of looking forward to when the flooding happens and then you're, providing relief materials and, trying to come to the aid of those who are victims of the flood, why not go to the states before then and go to those communities that will be affected and find ways to get those people either out or ways, to reduce the impact when the flood comes? Why is NEMA not looking at that alternative in the whole mix?
Thank you very much. I would like to say that NEMA is not the problem.
No.
Disaster management is everybody's business. Looking at the disaster management architecture for Nigeria, not only for floods. As we always say in NEMA, disasters are all local. Every disaster happens in a particular community, in a particular local government, in a particular state. The first responder that saves lives should be from that locality before external support comes from the state capital and from Abuja. All of us, we must do our bit. Like we enumerated, you disseminate early warnings and mitigation strategies. Last week, the DG NEMA was in Anambra State, one of the riparian states along the River Niger. 2018, I was at Ogbaru local government by the River Niger. Almost the whole local government was flooded. There's a Nigerian Navy Marine base, there's a police station, there are big structures. They were inundated. So we must build capacities from community level, from local government level and the state levels. And honestly, it's not all doom and gloom. Like we mentioned, a lot of states are doing, are putting structures, doing some level of response to these early warning alerts that are sent to them. I'm from Jigawa State, coincidentally, and from Hadeja. That Hadeja, as the name implies, Hadeja is on River Hadeja, in the river valley, river that flows down to Lake Chad. I know that last year, this year, Jigawa State has done a lot of opening of the river channels, clearing of the taifa grass that used to block the waterways and prevents free flow of water, along the river basin. So everybody must do his bit at the community level, at the local government level, at the state level. Otherwise, every year we come here and do the same conversation. That's my take.
Okay, Engineer Nze, one of the steps was addressing, or mitigating flooding is, prioritizing disaster preparation, which is what, development partners have suggested. And prioritizing that will mean, of course, devoting some reasonable amount of funding, to measures to mitigate flooding. Measures include drainage, desilting the systems, and of course building the environmental infrastructure that are necessary. But state governments will tell you, there's paucity of funds to really, embark on, measures that will really mitigate flooding in their respective states. But between, several years, we understand that this same, subnational governments have accessed the Ecological Fund, devoted to flood disaster management and mitigation. Are you concerned? How can we begin to hold subnational governments accountable, when disasters resulting from flooding happens?
See, that has been the bane of these flood issues. Even without federal government intervention by way of Ecological Fund, we believe strongly with if there is the will to do it, it will be done without necessarily having Ecological Fund intervention to do that. Back again to the issue of Ecological Fund. I recall in 2012, when there was that first time we experienced flooding in Nigeria, maybe Cameroon released water from their Lago Dam. Presidential Committee on Flood Relief and Rehabilitation was established in October 2012. That committee is co-chaired by Alajaliko Dangote and the Chief Olisa Awakoba Sir. Several billions were pulled there. The committee is still working, still active. I recall the states were grouped into up to A, B, C, D, E, depending on the magnitude. They got several billions, depending on the level of disaster that occurred. But quite surprising and quite pitiful that affected citizens were some of them got 200 naira. Those who were affected, who even when they came back to their house, they saw either crocodile or hippopotamus inside their homes. Some of them got about 200 naira. I won't mention the states. It cut across. So what I'm in terms of not the people not being who were affected, not being helped at the end of the day. So if the state governments really want to do the work, I don't think it takes so much. Like Jigawa, they bought a number of amphibious equipment that can work on water and on land.
Excavators.
Yes, to clear their drainages and then open up waterways so that water can go down towards Lake Chad. It doesn't require so much. Do you require Ecological Fund to inform their people about what is going to happen, or to move them to higher grants? Under this committee chaired by Liko Donguta and Olisabokoma, so many flood houses were built, about 48 of them, 2 per state, depending on how the states were classified when it comes to flooding. We've been asked, I'm a member of that committee, is a hostel, just like you have in secondary school when we live in the hostel, dormitories. But everything is there. States have been asked, please, why can't you man these clinics that are here all year round? We have built it, we have stocked it with drugs to attend to your people. When the flood recedes, take over those clinics. Let people within the community be coming there to take treatment normally. Most of them are lying fallow till today.
But you talk of shelters. You talk of relocating,
Yes.
people to higher place or shelters. But sometimes the pictures of those shelters we get to see, are far from, decent for human habitation. And probably a reason why many of them really do, resist going to such shelter homes.
You see, you need to do a lot of advocacy. Moving from the known to the unknown. I recall that 2014, Niger State government had an array of what they call wet housing and dry housing schemes. It is for a period, maybe 2 months or 3 months, depending on the location in the state. People can be moved temporarily to those places, save their lives and whatever they have. And then when the flood recedes, you go back. But whether they are good for habitation or not, but I know some places where people maybe will refuse to go back because what was built for them is like what happens in IDPs. That maybe those who are indigenous in those locations, that are higher grants that were these houses were built, will insist that they should be equally be taken care of because they see that those who are coming to stay with them in those new houses are looking better than them. So it's not all woes in terms of saying the structures are not quite
All right.
habitation.
Okay, Engineer Clement is there. Thank you. Let's get back to Lagos now. To find out what has been. Additional Tamiyu, I'm sure you're still with us. I'd like to find out from you. So far, since the rain started this year and the kind of flood that has been experienced in Lagos, could you give us some of the economic and social implications of it? How are Lagosians responding, to the situation?
Thank you very much. You see, when disaster occurs, spend money to take care of people, the individual. For Lagos, Lagosians are resilient people, but we should not take their resilience for granted. We need to work for them. We need to do more than we are doing. And I want to identify one critical missing link here. Professor Emmanuel talked about a master plan. How well is this master plan known in all of the states? There must be cooperation. There must be synergy. We must all work together. Because the truth of the matter is that if Lagos is planning independent of Ogun, and they are interlinked in water exchanges, then it will not work. And that is why the federal agencies in particular are the ones taking lead in all of this, in designing framework for flood abatement and flood management. So if NEMA has a master plan, and some of those, everybody is praising Adejia in Jigawa, I congratulate him too for doing a good job. But the truth is that how many of these states have information that Adejia has. Adejia, I understand, maybe is a member of the committee who designed this master plan. I don't know whether Lagos have one. I don't know if this is available in Ogun or Oyo. Some of these state emergency management agencies just exist in name. We keep blaming them. We should engage the state governors. I am aware that some states in the southwest here, I try to visit some of them to work with them. What they have as SEMAs, state emergency management agencies, are just offices and few staff. They don't have equipment, and I'm sure NEMA know what I'm talking about. How do they cope with the volume of what we see? Lagos that even have capacity is facing its own challenges. So for me, I want a situation where all of us will work together, synergize, design, and agree on even the framework that has been designed. What is the input of other states? Because we almost have a robust plan. NEMA is doing its best. Every time the react part of all of these agencies. How about the enlightenment campaign? How about information that is passed to people? Advanced one. I hold some state complicity. I agree. They are not doing as much as they should do. But the truth of the matter is that it is now an emergency, and we must take it as such. There must be a conflict involving all of these stakeholders. Let's bring them to. Let Professor bring out this he's talking about, or maybe we are waiting for the government to issue a white paper.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chamiyu. We need to take a break now. Of course, the conversation continues after this short break. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back to the program, and we are on the homeward stretch. I'll quickly go to Jigawa and get some more information on the good work Jigawa, good work as attested to by Engineer Clement Inza here. And Jigawa, once again, we congratulate you for taking proactive steps to ensure that Jigawa does not experience the same devastation from flooding as at 2022. And but can you share some of these good positive experience with us, and by extension with the other millions of interested stakeholders that are watching also, what it is specifically that you are doing that is drawing the accolades to Jigawa State in terms of, for instance, flash flooding, overflowing of the River Hadejia, for instance. What have you done to as a form of preparation?
Connection issues there with Hamza Mohammed Adeja.
Sorry, let me repeat my question. I don't know if it's still, if you can see hear us. Hamza, Hamza, can you hear us? Okay, I'm just saying that it would be good for you to share some of your success stories with us. What it is that you have been able to do, in terms of the river overflowing, the River Hadejia, which was a major issue in the 2022 and perhaps 2023 flood disasters in Jigawa State. What have you been able to do? How have you managed to channel the excess water that is envisaged from the river?
I'm sure we'll rejoin Hamza Hadejia much later because of the connection issues. So let's get back here in the studio, and like Professor Emmanuel, Adenu to, speak about, you talked about some states not being proactive, to all of this. And looking at the prediction, there's a prediction for this year that says 148 local government areas in 31 states, fall within the high flood risk areas. Could it be that the inaction of these states is as a result of the non-performance of local governments? The fact that we have a situation with local governments in the country where you do not have local government chairman, there's no proper administration going on in local government, has been a major factor responsible, for this continuous problem as regards flooding.
No, I wouldn't attribute it to the political arrangement of local governments and all this. I gave an example just now. In your kitchen and you don't have your local government chairman or secretary to experience of. I think the major thing is this. The information we provide at the national level, just as our colleague from Lagos just mentioned, probably when it gets to the state, it is not disseminated down. And I made a recommendation.
So, but the question is, how would the states, distribute when the local governments are not performing, where there's no structure in place? Because
you don't have to give it to the local government chairman or caretaker. There's a way you can organize a seminar, call people within the local environment, let them listen to you, make a presentation to them. Because flood management is not a responsible, as I said. When we come out with a document, it does not relieve you of your responsibility to pay attention to your environment. Rather, it just sensitizes you and gives you some more information on what is happening and what you should do, additional to the instinct you have when there's flooding in your environment. We cannot just say because local government is not. You individuals, but I believe that the federal government should also scale it down. We'll produce a document, distribute it. We can see go around the states and make presentations and explain the content of this to them and how to manage this. So effectively, you are scaling down the activities that should be done to individuals. Now, in the local government, for instance, unless funds are coming from somewhere to say, okay, this fund is meant for this local government, for this purpose, then, when you don't attach funds to it, nobody will listen to you. So maybe that is it. But that is not supposed to be the case. Now, when we were doing this comprehensive master plan, I asked my colleagues in the committee, I was the chairman, I said, look, let's involve the military. And we involved the military. We had the Air Force was represented fully, the Army was represented, the Navy. And I asked them, when they came, I said, okay, how do you respond to flood? You have rapid response units. Do you have any training on flood specifically? And they said no. So we say, okay, let's come together and see how you respond to flooding. And we designed something for them so that we can call on them. Because they have, I think, response units, about how many of them all over the country. So, okay, in your units now, let's see whether you should have training in flooding, especially flood-prone environments. They have drills. As NISA and NIMET predict, try to have drills at least to accommodate some of the predictions that will require flooding.
You know something.
That is spreading it down. But
you're
we're
talking
not saying
about
it's
spreading
local
it down.
government.
Yes. The reason I talked about local governments not performing as being a contributing factor is, for example, some of these predictions come in English, and there's some certain communities that they cannot translate. They don't understand what is in those documents. All right. So, but when there's a proper channel, like I said, local governments, for example, are supposed to have environmental officers who, take it upon themselves, who are probably members of that community, who can, cascade this information down. Then look at the incidents in Jatu some days ago. Market women at the marketplace, and then they don't have stores, no shops. They're under the tree trying to take, shade because of the rain, and then trees kill them. So all of this is is connected.
I get the point you're trying to raise.
But let me
and this is also sorry, sir.
Do you have to speak a language for you to know that you're under a tree that is going to fall?
Professor Adanu, I think this has to do with information getting down to the bottom.
Yes.
Usually when such documents come out, they are distributed top, bottom. But it should be really from bottom top, so that those class of people who really,
will be
affected, get hold of this information. And I think this is where NEMA, NOA, and probably the other agencies involved need to come together to find a way of distributing the information to the grassroots. I don't know if NEMA is doing that. Do you have a kind of collaboration with NOA to ensure that the information, gets to the grassroots?
Yes, we do. NOA is a major stakeholder to NEMA. Anytime we are convening our emergency coordination forum, they are there and they play a very big role. And secondly, when we're having this conversation, what came to my mind was last week, Wednesday, we're in Anambra State. The Anambra State government assembled all the local government chairmen, all the traditional rulers, and a presentation was made in Igbo language on this flood early warning messages and mitigation strategies under one roof. So a lot is being done.
But it shouldn't be a one-off thing. It shouldn't be just, it shouldn't be just, gathering people. By now, we expect that the messages should be flooding the airwaves, the radio stations, the TV stations, the paper. You understand? I mean, it should be sustained throughout the period that, NISA and NIMET have predicted.
NTA has been running jingles for NEMA, and the expectation is that when you assemble people at the state capital and you downscale these early warning messages, those people that attended are expected to downscale it down to the grassroots. It is the responsibility of the states, of the local government that send their representation to take this message to the grassroots.
Okay, let's see how Jigawa is taking this message to the grassroots. Jigawa, share your experience with us. First, how are you reaching the grassroots with the message from NIMET, NISA, NEMA, and all that? And secondly, how are you, what are you doing to River Hadejia to ensure that, again, what happened in 2022 does not happen this year?
What we are doing, we have started from the grassroots. We engage local communities, more especially the water users groups, self-help groups, train them, inform them, give them a full sensitization on how to do some communal work to address the effect of flooding before it happens, so that we make what we call community sensitization in different strategic areas within our senatorial areas, and we engage them fully, and we give them the formalities and technicalities for them to see how best they can conduct the sandbagging and the other protective measures. We also engage groups used, supported by the state government, to dredge out all the drainages across the urban and rural areas, so that when the rain started, so that the water can free flow, so that without submerging in the houses. So this is what we are doing in Jigawa State, and the government is fully committed to support all these groups and the communities for them to collaborate with the government to ensure the success of these activities for us to mitigate the effect of flooding, more especially the rain flooding or flash flooding in the upland areas. Issue to do with prone areas, started from the entry point in River Hadejia downstream, so that we observe the challenges such as diversion, siltation of the river, narrowing of the river system, and the infestation of invasive plant species such as typhi grass. So the government are fully committed on deploying machineries, that is swamp boogie and amphibious excavators, to dredge out the river entirely, to expand the width, size, the depths, and provide a protection as dike embankment at the both sides of the river system, so that when the river started, so that and indeed the opening up of the dams situated in Kano, so that the water can flow smoothly without effect. So this is what we have been doing over a year, and to ensure that everywhere that has such a havoc and the challenges, we are working to see how best we can address it. And in the government side, we observe some areas in at least 4 or 5 state, 5 local governments that are fully prone communities that has problem of hydraulic structures, so that the government through Ministry of Works makes study and analyze, provide good modeling, providing structures that can help.
Thank you, Hamza. Just a quick one in less than 30 seconds. I'm just wondering, Jigawa is not particularly a very wealthy state when you compare to other states, but you have been able to achieve so much. I'm asking, are you being funded? How are you funding all of this?
So His Excellency, because of his passion and commitment, he inject a very reasonable amount in order to fund the committee, technical committee on flood mitigation. Because of the state peculiarity on agriculture, he want to ensure full engagement of youth in agriculture to reduce the effect of unemployment, so that this model of employing youth and engaging youth into agricultural practice for us to enhance the economic structure and development of the good people of Jigawa State. That is why His Excellency is keen and interested to address the effect of flooding, for us to provide food security and enhance the economic growth of the state. That is why he is funding the committee. He is ready always to fund the committee, and the committee is working effectively with the support of the state government to ensure all the problems and the challenges that cause havoc, more especially to bring less production and the losses of palm input will be protected. And the effect to do with community to have such damages will also be protected. So that is why His Excellency give available resources under the Ministry of Environment to embark fully on these activities to mitigate the effect of flooding in Jigawa State.
Hamza Hadija, they're very beautiful, and we hope that other states are listening, and then they can, take a cue from what Jigawa State is doing. Clement Nze, as we begin to round up the conversation now, looking at ways that we can actually mitigate the impact of flood, would you say climate change education would likely do the magic, if not now, maybe in the future? Because of course we know that this floods that we're experiencing at the moment is as a result of climate change, and then our people still do not understand. I mean, just very few people, understand all about climate change and then factors that are responsible. So, do you think that education in that direction would, help in all of this situation?
Yeah, yes, quite correct. People should be properly enlightened on the fact that climate change is a reality. Even some have experienced it by themselves, not being told by any institution that there is a reality of climate change in the environment. I know of some states. Okay, let me say, in our agency, for instance, we always involve schools. I know about NEMA, we had an event the other time. Secondary school children were brought there. Issue about climate change for them to get it ingrained in them that this is a reality. And many, even at the federal level, we can say that so much action has been taken to institutionalize the issue of climate change. There's a commission on that under Mr. President. National Council on Climate Change is there. Like we keep saying here, such things should be carried down to the grassroots. I mean, to the states and then to the local governments, not only at the federal level. It should be incorporated in our educational, curriculum that climate change is a reality, and how do we mitigate impacts in whatever we are doing, building houses, roads, infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Let me just quickly add, our colleague from Lagos. How far are people informed about the document, like Professor Dani mentioned about the document? Lagos is within what we call the Hydrological Area 8, Area 6. We carried a detailed study about Area 6, Lagos, Ogun, Osun, Oyo, Edo, all the southwest states. We wrote, a consultant went around to all the states, all the relevant ministries. We hold meetings, we had meetings with them, went to site. Then the day we are launching it, we called all the states to come. Only one palm stake came from Lagos. The other states, 6 of them, didn't send any single person. The document was there. Let them know what is going to happen in terms of a flood vulnerability mapping of these states. Where documented the papers. We didn't see people. Only one palm stake from Ministry of Environment and the water source in Lagos came. Ogun, Oyo, Osho, Ondo didn't come. Benin, Edo State didn't come. So how do we do? How are we going to do it? Documents are there, prepared at the federal level. We came to your location to show you this is what it is. You are supposed to have keyed into it and take it further down to your own government area, but that wasn't done.
Okay, Engineer, thank you. Let's quickly take the last 30 seconds from Lagos. Mr. Deshino, the ball is in your court. What do you just give us quickly what we can do to energize or to ginger the subnationals to take a cue from Lagos, from Bayelsa, and from Jigawa, all those other states that are doing well and taking the early warning signals very seriously.
Thank you very much. I agree with the last speaker that in the Southwest here, with due respect, outside of Lagos, we just have the offices, nothing is working. I'm sorry about that. But to do it, it is the willpower of the governor to want to do something. What you see that is happening in Lagos is because the governors who have come over time have a plan. SEMA is over 15 years old in Lagos. Some states have SEMAs that are older than Lagos. What do they have? Nothing. Going forward, rather than engaging, with these directors of SEMAs who have no power, who have no budget, who have why don't NEMA engage directly with the governors? Use the power of the presidency, summon the state governors, and let them understand that if you die, I die. If you are safe, I am safe. It is not one person working and the others are not working. It's not going to show. So we must, from the presidency, involve all of these governors. They are the ones who have the funds. Like Professor Emmanuel said, he said in their master plan that they designed, there are even source of funding. How many of these states know about this? Maybe they don't even have money. So,
many thanks, additional Tamiyu. Of course, so much has been said, and we hope that we do not come back again some other time to talk about the same issues, because that's what has been happening over the years, repeating the same thing over and over again and not seeing a change and the disaster being averted.
When we come, we'll be talking about results.
Results, we hope so. Many thanks, additional Tamiyu, for joining us for the conversation. Of course, Managing Director, Rivulets Consultant Limited, former Managing Director, LASEMA, Lagos State Safety Commission. Thank you for your insight on the program. Of course, we appreciate Engineer Clement Nze, Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA. Many thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to more predictions. We hope that we actually abide by these predictions. And then, of course, Professor Emmanuel Adanu, Director General, National Institute for Water Resources, Kaduna, one-time Chairman, Technical Committee, Presidential Committee on Prevention of Flood Disaster. Thank you so much. We want to see that document. We want it to be made public so that anyone can pick it up. Of course, we also want to thank Idris Abubakar Mohammed, Special Assistant to the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Thank you for coming, and great job you're doing. Jigawa State, Hamza Mohammed Hadeja, thank you for setting the pace and for doing the magic as regards flood mitigation. Advisor to the Governor of Jigawa State, we do appreciate you for joining us. Because of time, that's our bit on Good Morning Nigeria this morning. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Yen Ray John.
And I'm Claire Abdul Razak. Bye-bye.